Okay, we're back here on the Steve Marston Show. It is a thrill and a delight to be with you. Discipleship has never sounded or been more fun. Check out our YouTube page. We have got it all new and revamped for you. Lots of shorts, lots of long-form videos, lots of conversations with people just like the guy who's joining us now, Paul Asay, who is the director of PluggedIn.com, a ministry of focus on the family. Welcome back to the show, my friend.
I am always happy to talk with you, Steve. This is always a thrill.
Well, I'm glad that you said that. And then number two, you must have a pretty boring life outside of this. If this is a highlight of your day, I'm not joking around with that at all. All right, as we look at the slate for this weekend, as far as movies go in theaters, probably the one that makes the most sense for our family type audiences, but also is getting a lot of pub just regardless, is Coyote versus Acme. This is the Looney Tunes come to life.
Yeah, it absolutely is. It is. This had an interesting journey even to get into theaters. Originally, Warner Brothers wanted to shelve it for tax purposes. They wanted to take a big write-off, and no one was going to see this movie until Catch-Up Entertainment actually swept in and bought it and distributed it. And I got to tell you, for me personally, I'm super happy that they did, because this is a fun movie. I really enjoyed it. The setup is essentially this. Coyote's been chasing Roadrunner for how many decades now? Never had a lot of success with that. He decides that probably one of the problems is all these gadgets that he buys from Acme. They never work, and sometimes they literally blow up in his face. So he decides that maybe the next thing he's going to do is actually sue Acme because they have all those defective products. He finds this lawyer named Kevin, and they take Acme to court. And who is Acme run by? None other than Foghorn Leghorn, believe it or not. So that's sort of the setup.
Oh, well, see, and that's so funny that you have to say that, because you and I are old enough to remember the Looney Tunes cartoons, but I guess there's a whole generation that really maybe not as familiar with Coyote and Roadrunner and Acme and all the hijinks that happens.
I think that's really true. That is really true. You do sort of think that there's a certain cultural awareness. People are familiar with Bugs Bunny, but they didn't grow up with it probably like we did. I remember watching these Roadrunner cartoons all the time on Saturday morning TV, right?
Oh, sure.
So this is a movie that's meant for kids, and yet there's a lot of nostalgia for adults too. And I think one of the things that this movie does well is that it embraces that nostalgia while updating it for a new audience. And it even comes with a nice message about continuing to try in the face of failure. Coyote's done that a lot.
Yes, he has. He certainly has. And there's some big...
It's not a perfect movie. It's not a perfect movie. There are definitely some anvils to avoid. But in terms of just the movie quality, it's fun.
Yeah, and there's some big name heavy hitters in this. Will Forte plays the lawyer, and then you even got John Cena in this, for crying out loud.
I know, and he is. I hate to say it, he is super funny in this. Now, one of the things that you don't hear is Coyote. He continues to hold up the signs. This is sort of done in a Who Framed Roger Rabbit type of way.
Oh,
so the
yeah.
Coyote that we see here is still very much the cartoon Coyote that we have grown up with. He communicates through signs, and he mentions to his lawyer, Will Forte, that he only has a limited number of signs.
Well, there you go. At least he's honest, right? That's one thing. Coyote's always just trying to get a meal. You know, not anything else. He's just hungry, and it seems like every time he turns around, things are blowing up in his face or dropping down heavy objects on his head and stuff. That should be a fun movie. And you're right. I'm so glad that they do that, where they take into consideration not just the kids, but also the parents who are going to get a real nostalgia trip for it. So that's really good. I'm glad that's the way that they are approaching the movie, because, again, that's the one thing when I heard people start talking about this movie, I was like, well, how many kids know about Coyote nowadays? But the parents will bring them to see it, and they'll love it and fall in love and it'll spark a new generation.
Well, and I do think that we do have to offer just a few content caveats as we talk about this movie, because it is rated PG and it fits nicely there, but it does have a little bit of mild language, which parents might be surprised about. There's a few sensual asides that are there, and of course, there's all the violence. Right. There's tons and tons of very cartoonish, very slapstick violence. But it doesn't end. If you're familiar with the original Looney Tunes cartoons, you know what to expect. But if you're not, and you don't want your kids seeing a lot of people getting pounded on the head or blown up, this might not be the movie for you.
Yeah, no doubt. So take those into consideration. Paul Asay is our guest. He's the director of Focus on the Family's PluggedIn.com, which reviews all things technology and entertainment, including the movies and streaming and music and games and even books. So, I mean, it is just I like to say it's just information overload in the best possible way. So that's kind of the biggest movie that's out for this weekend. Where else will we want to go and talk about entertainment stuff this week? What else is on the agenda?
For people who can find it in their towns or their cities, you might want to, and you're just looking for a very nice Christian movie, you might want to check out Beyond Belief. This is a new movie that's just coming out. If you're familiar with the band, I don't know if you remember the band Petrus. I don't know if you're old enough to remember them.
Sure.
I certainly am. But this is sort of in some ways, this is a movie that brings in a lot of those old Petrus songs that maybe a lot of Christians grew up with. It takes place in the 1980s. There's this kid who wants to do a battle of the bands with his band, and the prize is a big one. You get to go on tour with Petra. You get this recording contract, and that's a big deal for this kid because his family is in dire financial straits. His dad died a while ago. They're trying to save the family church that they've run for so long. He believes this might be the answer, but he also gets a literal word from God, and that word is run. He decides that means that he needs to run a marathon, and the marathon that he decides to run, it actually takes place on the same day as Battle of the Bands. This is a nice movie about following God's call, even when it doesn't make sense and even when it's scary. And I think that those are some really nice messages. And this is a nice film. It's not going to necessarily win any Oscars, but for those who are looking for a nice Christian film to go to, this definitely fits that definition.
That's awesome. And to bring back the band Petra is cool because, you know what, they're still touring. I think this is their 50th year. Is that right? I saw either that or 40th year where they have been releasing music, and they've got a whole new album and a new tour coming out. So this works really nice with that for sure.
Yeah. And for fans of that band, you hear their music all throughout, and you even get to see a couple of the original band members make what I think is kind of a delightful cameo.
Oh, really? Oh, great.
Yes. So for fans of Petra, this will definitely scratch maybe a long time itch.
Well, that's great. Now, I know one of the movies that was, I think maybe had more expectation than what it kind of delivered was Toy Story 5. And it hit theaters, and now it seems like you turn around good, and it's now on streaming. That's never really a great sign, is it?
You know what? Actually, I think that it's pretty typical nowadays. The turnaround can be quick. Toy Story 5 actually, I think it's right now the third highest grossing movie of the year behind Spider-Man, Brand New Day, and The Odyssey. So it did pretty well.
Oh, okay. I stand corrected. I just remember it was like, man, wasn't that just in theaters and now it's on streaming?
I tell you, these things move to streaming quickly. There are some times, honestly, where I'm still talking about a movie in theaters. It's still making money in theaters, and yet it's already gone to Netflix or Amazon Prime or whatnot. So it's more common for these quick turnarounds because I guess the it's harder to keep a movie in theaters quite as long as you used to, because so many people watch most of their movies on streaming these days.
Yeah, that's true. And now Toy Story 5 was all about, the I guess the dichotomy between, actual physical toys and, the tech savvy kind of gaming and stuff, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. It has a really nice plugged-in message, if you will. We're always talking about the problems with screen time. Mm-hmm. Toy Story 5 really leans into that, where it talks a little bit about how these screens. It takes place. The main little girl here, she doesn't have a screen, but all of her friends do, and so she feels like she's totally left out. It's sort of all the toys just seem to be so screen-based now. Her parents get her something called a lily pad, and that sort of vaults the story into what it becomes. She is able to connect with friends, but then she gets a little bit bullied. Meanwhile, all the toys that we're so used to seeing, especially Jessie, her favorite toy, all of a sudden they see these screen-based toys as threats. So that is a really interesting theme as the story goes through. I don't think it's nearly as strong as the original first 3 Toy Story movies, but yeah, it has some great messages, and the characters are still delightful.
Well, that's great, because that's one of my favorite franchises, and every time I see those great classic franchises come out with a new sequel and another, it makes me, do we have to, that kind of thing. But you're right. This sounds like a really great message, especially timely for the age that we're living in. So that's what I wanted to talk about. Anything else on your list as far as things we need to be on the lookout for entertainment stuff this weekend?
A couple of things that you might not want to watch. I'll just mention the Dog Stars is probably going to be the big new release this weekend, right, outside of Coyote versus Acme. That's a dystopian story directed by Ridley Scott, who's done some amazing things in the past, but they're always very harsh things. This one has a lot of blood and a lot of profanity. And then there's a movie called It Ends, which is also R-rated, and it's about these 4 kids who just graduated from college who wind up taking a bad turn and wind up on a road that actually doesn't end, or at least it doesn't end for a good long while. They're stuck and they can't get off, and so they talk a little bit about life and meaning and where they are. Are they in some sort of purgatorial realm? So there's some interesting thought experiments that go there, but yeah, it's a pretty harsh and profanity-laden movie that I would probably not recommend.
I get you. I understand that for sure. Paul Asay is our guest. He's the director of Focus on the Family's PluggedIn.com. And just looking at, like, for instance, going back to the Coyote versus Acme, when you pull up that on the website, you get these different categories: positive elements, spiritual elements, sexual and romantic content, yeah, believe it or not, violent content, crude or profane language, drug and alcohol content, other noteworthy items, and conclusion. So there's at least a couple of paragraphs on each of those topics, and you can read all of this information for yourself, and then, like I say, decide whether this is something you want to go spend your money on. And they do it so well, and I'm so thankful that Focus does stuff top notch, and I really appreciate everything that you guys do and the time and the effort you put into it, Paul.
Well, thank you so much. It is interesting. A lot of people would love to have our job, and we're very aware of that. But at the same time, I never really realized how many movies people would actually literally need to pay me to see.
Yeah.
And that is sort of the realization that you get when you become a plugged-in reviewer.
Well, that is such a neat perspective, because you think for sure, oh, this guy goes to movies all day. Well, when I got to go out and, dig ditches or whatever. But that almost takes the fun out of it. I bet the last thing you want to do with you and your family as a recreation is go see a film, right?
You are not kidding. You are not kidding. You just see so many movies, right? And every time you walk in, you're sort of thinking, where's my pad of paper that I need to write all these notes for? So I still love these stories. I still do enjoy movies, but man, it does bring something new to the table, and that I can't tell you the last time my wife and I saw a movie just for fun.
Yeah.
It's been a while.
Well, my wife is the same way with me. Whenever we're just driving in the car, have the radio on, and I'm critiquing the radio. She's can't you just please not say anything? Just enjoy the music, enjoy the talk show, whatever we're listening to. No, I get it. It takes all the fun out of it when you're in the midst of it. But that's so much fun. Paul Asay is our guest here. In our final couple of minutes we have, let's talk about the different tutorials you guys have, the blog, the YouTube page. I know it's all intertwined, and it all works to help give parents a great resource to be able to decide what's good and what's not for their family.
Yeah. It really does all work in unison, and especially those things that you were talking a little bit about, the blog and the tutorials. Those are things we deal a lot with entertainment, but we also do deal with technology as well, screen time issues, social media. These are worlds that oftentimes parents can feel like they don't know nearly as well as their kids, and it can be a bewildering world at that. So we try to give some really concrete nuts and bolts advice on how to navigate those worlds. And as a matter of fact, we do something that is called Parents Guide to Technology. This is a free download that I'm super proud of our team for putting it together, quite honestly. It's 125 pages of great practical information that can help parents sort of navigate these bewildering worlds and try to get a handle on how to help guide their kids through social media, through screen time, through these issues that are just a part of 21st century society. And so you can get that free download if you go to pluggedin.com. You can find a link there, or you can just go to pluggedin.com/techguide.
Paul Asay, we're just out of time, my friend. Have a great weekend. We'll talk to you again soon.
Hey, thanks so much, Steve. Appreciate it.